Who should get the ball for the Heat at the end of games, and what would an all-star weekend with every player in Heat history look like? All of that and more on today's Locked On Heat.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, it is a Friday edition of Locked On Heat, your daily podcast covering all things Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg. However, you may be listening on YouTube, Odyssey, or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Today's show is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. All right, on today's show, we're mixing up our normal mailbag approach a little bit. This is going to be called 5 Burning Questions, where we take questions from you, the viewer and the listener, and then sprinkle in a few of our own, so that way we can get to some of our biggest topics and some, off topics. But let's just jump right into this first one, David. If you could add any player on a non-playoff team to the Miami Heat, who would you add?
He's on fire!
Also going to play that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question. We were talking about the parameters of how to answer that, because right now, the state of affairs in the NBA in general, as far as the standings are concerned, fluctuate almost daily. So we wanted to just separate, as of this moment, as we're recording this, teams 11 through 15 and their respective conferences. So in the East, that would be the Wizards, Knicks, Pacers, Magic, and Pistons. In the West, it would be the Pelicans, Spurs, Kings, Thunder, and Rockets. So a lot of good options there.
Well, a lot of good options. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you're not picking anybody from Orlando.
Yeah, nobody with any kind of real experience.
I looked at that roster. I'm like, is Franz Wagner their best player already?
Yes,
he is, isn't he? And he'd be a nice.
You can make an argument. Yeah, you could make it. Yeah. But without any, he's like 20 years old. I don't know how you can just thrust him into an NBA Finals run and expect him to be an immediate contributor. So, I'd almost rather have, his brother Mo, just because he's a friend of Duncan's, and you could throw him out there for like a few rebounds.
You would not rather have Mo Wagner over Franz Wagner. There's no way.
And for this scenario, I might. We're talking about a backup big, somebody that we've talked about is an area of need for Miami. He's been in the playoffs, I think.
I can't believe we're making a Mo Wagner argument.
He's gonna foul somebody. He's gonna piss somebody off in a right situation. I'd rather have him in the corner right now than his little brother. So I don't know. That's just just my take.
If it's Heat Nuggets in the finals, maybe we do need a Mo Wagner. We just need a goon, just a goon, a German goon. Throw him out there.
And you put his brother in the stands, and all of a sudden it's the Jokic brothers versus the Wagner brothers. That should be very interesting there. You can go with Julius Randle. Yeah, you can go with Julius Randle with the Knicks. I think that's
I think this is a good way to do it, right? You kind of go down the list. So the Eastern Conference, Washington, they're eliminated. Bradley Beal, he's out for the season, so that doesn't count. We're talking about right now. So Bradley Beal healthy, he probably wins this contest that we're holding randomly. But he's out for the year, so that doesn't count. And are you interested in anybody else on Washington? No, I'm not either. Yeah. So Julius Randle, you're right for the Knicks. I thought about RJ Barrett a little bit, just because having more ball handlers doesn't hurt. He's having an okay year. I don't think he took the leap that Knicks fans and the Knicks wanted him to take, but he's still okay. But you're right. It would probably be Julius Randle. Problem with Randle, he needs shots. He needs buckets. He ain't going to get them in Miami. Indiana's interesting.
Miles Turner. That's a great fit there. You could even go with Halliburton. Yeah.
Or Malcolm Brogdon. I kind of like, I have Brogdon / Halliburton / Turner here. Of that group, I might go Brogdon. Just because, ideal kind of guy who can fill in. He's what the Miami Heat are hoping.
Assuming health too, or assuming health.
Is Brogdon hurt?
He's been on and off and on the injured list all year.
Halliburton, probably. I would take Halliburton over Miles Turner.
Really? Turner's currently hurt. Turner's currently hurt.
Yeah, but he'll be back, right?
Yeah.
Miles, it's just like a 2-week thing for Miles Turner, I think. Yeah, where I guess Brogdon it's iffy for him. I would go Halliburton. I really would. I really like Halliburton. I think that's the kind of player you want in the playoffs, not Miles Turner. I would go Halliburton.
Well, the
Jeremy
West presents some. Yeah,
for Detroit. I'm just going to eliminate a couple, like OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That seems nice, but no playoff experience.
No Josh Giddey. No.
Or Josh Giddey. No, that's fine too. Just unclear how those guys play for winning teams because the Thunder make a living off of not winning. So it's impossible.
Kenrick Williams. Kenrick Williams is a nice player. One that doesn't get nearly enough attention, I think.
We could do better than Kenrick Williams. DeMontis Sabonis from Sacramento. Kind of same thing as the Miles Turner situation. Is that really what the direction we want to go in?
I'm actually going with the other Sacramento Kings, I think, is my choice. Harrison Barnes. I know you've never been quite as high on him, but I just think he fits a need as a wing player, capable defender, capable shooter. Started off the year really hot. He's cooled off considerably since then, but overall still a very, very good player. Championship experience, big game experience, good locker room presence. I think he'd be so happy to get the hell out of Sacramento and be like, oh, I get to play for something of value. I think he'll be ecstatic about this opportunity. So I think he would really, really enjoy that.
For the
Ingram
record,
is a great choice.
For the record, well, that's where I was going to go was Brandon Ingram. But for the record on Harrison Barnes, I've been a big Harrison Barnes fan. I just don't like his fit for the Heat
in Miami.
And when we were talking about this stuff at the trade deadline, it just never made sense for a lot of reasons. Number one, the Heat can't afford him, and it just literally never made any sense. But same thing with Jeremy Grant. But Brandon Ingram is my choice. I was kind of between him and DeJounte Murray for San Antonio. Again, if you're talking about having another ball handler, a guy who can defend, get to the bucket, and all these things sort of force the issue on offense. We're going to talk about Miami's end of clock type or end of games offense a little bit later in the show. DeJounte Murray is a guy who can help in those moments, but I'm going Brandon Ingram because he can help in those moments. He's gotten much better as a playmaker, passer kind of guy. Defensively, there's still some stuff there, but you and I have been saying this for years. If you take a player from Team X and just drop him in Miami under Eric Spoelstra, he is guaranteed to get 10% better on defense, bare minimum. And lately, it's been much more than that for some of these players. Yep. I think I'm all in on Brandon Ingram. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Despite some nice names that we were just talking about, I would go all the way in on Brandon Ingram. You could have a closing lineup of, what would it be? Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo. You could even go small and take PJ Tucker out and put in Oladipo or Tyler Herro in there for maximum shot making. I think Brandon Ingram would be great.
Yeah, I just, it's tough to see. Maybe this is too simplistic, but the whole there's only one ball kind of rationale, I think sometimes might be a little difficult. This is a guy who needs to have the ball in his hands to be most effective. He's not really much of a off-ball cutter, or he doesn't move well necessarily without the ball. I don't know. I like him as a player. I think he's fantastic.
That make the Heat the favorites?
Having Brandon Ingram on this roster as it's currently comprised without having to give up anybody. Now, what if you flip that script a little bit and say you have to sacrifice one current player, but like a rotation level player? It can't just be, cutting Kyle Guy and getting Brandon Ingram instead. I don't know. Yeah, I think it still makes them the favorite pretty clearly.
Sorry. Who do I say sorry to? Sorry, Duncan. Sorry, Yurtsevin. Sorry.
Would you give up Duncan Robinson? Would you give up Duncan Robinson for Brandon Ingram?
No, I'm you would have to, right?
Yeah,
it's not as good of a fit, but Brandon Ingram's a damn good player. That's hard to say no to. All right, let's get to the one more here before the break. King Ray asks, who's the closer for this team come playoffs? Because Jimmy versus 5 defenders is not going to cut it. And then Sean asks us, will Bam ever be a late game scoring option? So I kind of want to just I bunched these two questions together that we got from listeners for a reason. I just want to take this as a sort of a jumping off point to discuss Miami's late game offense, because we talked about it a little bit at the end of the Mavericks game. Yeah. So I pulled out some stats that are updated since that Mavericks loss. The Heat are 6th in the NBA in win percentage in games that come down to clutch type situations, 5 points or less with 5 minutes to go. The Heat are 6th in the NBA in winning percentage, just a hair, 58%. They're 4th in defensive rating in those minutes and in those games. But, however, they are 26th in offensive rating, which is bad. And they actually have a negative net rating in those games, despite being 6th in the NBA in win percentage. Tyler Herro, kind of diving into that offensive rating issue. Tyler Herro, best of all Miami Heat players, at 2.6 points per game, or points per clutch situation, I suppose, on 36% shooting, 42% from 3. You look at the rest of the NBA, the fact that Miami's leading clutch scorer is Tyler Herro, you look at the top guys in clutch situations in the rest of the NBA, it's interior guys. It's guys who get to the paint. It's Nikola Jokic. It's Joel Embiid. It's LeBron James. It's Ja Morant. I think, and I think I'm right here, Miami's clutch time scorer, their go-to bucket getter, doesn't need to be Bam. It doesn't need to be Tyler Herro. It needs to be Jimmy Butler. And that's
It
what
does.
you kind of brought him here to be. And for the record, he has been that for most of his career here. This year, his numbers are a little bit lower. He's second on the team with just 2 field goal attempts in clutch moments and averaging just 2 points. So basically, a bucket per clutch moment is what he's doing here at 32% shooting. You compare that to a guy like DeMar DeRozan, 4 points in clutch situations at 54% shooting. Now, maybe it's not fair to compare him to DeRozan because DeRozan is having
Well, not the internet
anomaly
has.
career year this year. But
Everybody else has, yeah. He's
fair
far
point.
better than Jimmy Butler, you know.
But in these moments, he has been right. And again, he's having an anomaly off the charts type of year. And for the record, small samples like this tend to create anomaly off the chart kind of numbers, and that's what DeRozan is. Not taking any credit away from him, he's having a great year. He's first team All NBA. He's going to be, and he deserves it. The Heat need to get the ball to Jimmy Butler. And I actually, to disagree with King Ray, who's closing for this team, because if it's Jimmy versus 5 defenders not going to cut it, I don't think the Heat have been doing that. I don't think they just isolate Jimmy Butler. They're playing split cuts off of his post-ups. They're getting him to the basket. There's pick and roll with him and Kyle Lowry, him and Bam Adebayo. They're doing stuff, but I think the ball needs to be in his hands.
It's a tough argument because you think about what happened last year in the playoffs, and a lot of what led to Miami's downfall against the Bucks was simply that Jimmy being outclassed by bigger players, not being able to create enough offense and not getting nearly enough help. So the Jimmy versus 5 defenders is at the root of Miami's sweep last season at the hand of the Bucks. Or the hoof at the Bucks, I guess. But then you think about the year before, the season before. And you think about what he did against the Lakers and throughout that whole playoff run, and it basically was Jimmy against the world. And you know what? He often came out on top. So I think you're absolutely right that he should be the closer. He's the logical source. Moreover, even if it's not the most effective thing, we talked about this before. Eric Spoelstra, the NBA in general, is only wired one way. You give the ball to your superstar. With the exception of one time in NBA history that I can think of off the top of my head, which is Phil Jackson telling Scottie Pippen, "You're not going to get the ball." Tony Kukoc is, and that turned into a major blow up that nobody will quite forget. Other than that, I can't recall a single moment where you go, you know what? I'm gonna if a play breaks down, if LeBron makes the right pass to Donyell Marshall in the corner, or Dwayne, looks off and finds somebody else, that's right. Okay. That happened.
But it was his decision, right? You put the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah. Spo's getting that clipboard doused in Purell and hand moisturizer and sanitizer, excuse me, and he's writing up a play. Get the ball to Jimmy. That's it. That's it. That's the play right there. And that's
what he did with LeBron, right? Even with Dwayne Wade on the roster, he's put the ball in LeBron's hands. Maybe LeBron will kick it out to Dwayne Wade and he'll cut and dunk for the game-winning shot, or Chris Bosh will hit a long 2 or something like that. But let LeBron make the decision. And that's what they need to do with Jimmy. And for the record, they mostly have been. The Heat haven't been in a lot of these sort of 5 minutes with 5 point or 5-point games with 5 minutes to go type games. But we saw one at the end of the Mavericks game. There's ways to play with these numbers. Get the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands. It's that simple. If he wants to kick it out to Tyler Herro and let Tyler make a shot, great. Tyler's great in those moments. But the ball should be in Jimmy's hands.
Let's save the Bam question for the next segment so we can talk about that, because that's an interesting topic and a good teaser, I think, as well. But first, just a reminder for all of our listeners, football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the #1 spot for all of your sporting bets needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It's free and it's available wherever you get your podcasts. You mentioned the Bam Adebayo part of this. If he will ever be a late game scoring option, I'm going to push back on this entire notion. I don't think he's supposed to be. I don't think he has to be. when you have Jimmy Butler and you have Tyler Herro, whose games are made for those kinds of late game moments, Bam Adebayo's specialty isn't there. Bam Adebayo is the guy who blocks Jason Tatum at the end of games. Bam Adebayo is the guy who gets the ball off of split cuts to guys running around the arc. Bam Adebayo is the one that demands attention in the dunker spot, and you can't just quite leave him alone, or finishes those Tyler Herro or Jimmy Butler or maybe Kyle Lowry lobs with a dunk to end the game. But you're not putting the ball in his hands. You're not. I don't think that that's his job yet. Now, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, they're going to age out eventually, right? And maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road, that becomes Bam Adebayo's job. I actually think that the Heat would love for that to become Bam Adebayo's job 3 or 4 years down the road. But we're not 3 or 4 years down the road. We're now. And right now, Jimmy's your best option.
No doubt. But Sean's question, if I'm reading it correctly, will Bam ever be a late game scoring option? I think 1, he already has been. 2, he probably will be at some point. I think just to your point, if Jimmy and Kyle are no longer on his roster or not as effective in a few years from now, if Tyler, for whatever reason, isn't available, you go to Bam. He can create mismatches, especially as he continues to stretch out his game a little bit, be more effective. The offensive repertoire is not polished. I think we're all in agreement. Yeah. But that doesn't mean to say that he can't get to the line, that he can't create an opportunity for himself. Hell, Julius Randle has the ball in his hands for 48 minutes sometimes, and I wouldn't say that he's much better offensively than Bam Adebayo, to be honest with you. He's just a bigger name, and he carried the Knicks last year in a career year. I don't know that Bam couldn't have done that had he been given the opportunity in New York, but that's a whole other conversation. So I think 1, he has been. 2, he will be, and he can be in limited situations. He can be the right option because I think he can find seams. He can find mismatches. He can use his athleticism, his size, and speed. That combination is very, very rare in today's NBA, and I think he has it. And I think he has just enough offensive touch, and he's expanding that repertoire to the point where he will eventually be a more consistent scoring threat in clutch situations.
Let's get to our next question here.
He's on fire!
Right. Who would you take in the following contest if they were held with all-time Heat players? So anybody in Heat history, anybody who ever played for Miami, and this is as they were in Miami, right? So you're not getting like rookie LeBron James. You're getting LeBron when he was in Miami. Still a very good player. Anyway, here are the 3 contests. It's the 3 contests. It's the dunk contest, it's the skills challenge, and it's the 3-point contest. Let's start with the dunk contest, David. I've got a few names here. I want you to tell me where I'm wrong or who I forgot, because I'm sure I forgot some people on these lists.
There's only one name, so there's only one name that you should have on this list, but I want to hear it.
Huh. I actually have no idea where you're going to go with that. Harold Miner won when he was with Miami, so you got to put him on the list. But it was also like a million years ago, so who cares? Derrick Jones Jr., he won a dunk contest when after, right?
Yeah.
Or no? Yeah, after he was in Miami. When did he win the dunk contest?
During in Miami.
During, yeah.
So Derrick Jones Jr.
Yeah. Caleb Martin, we discussed that earlier in the year, so I was like, all right, put him on the list. LeBron James, obviously, he's never been in a dunk contest, but it's LeBron, and he played for Miami, and he would have been really good at it. And then Gerald Green, who had that historic blow the cupcake candle out moment. I think he was playing for Minnesota at the time, but he was still a great in-game dunker in those weird times that he was or Boston. He was still a great in-game dunker with the Miami Heat. I actually forgot he played for the Miami Heat until I was sort of going over this list and some ideas. But I think Gerald Green is like a dark horse here, like a weird dark horse. And he got robbed when he blew out the candle there. And that video was making the rounds today on Twitter, and that's sort of what reminded me. But did I forget anybody on this list before we narrow it down to a winner?
No, those are either competitors or guys like Martin and James that are like near level as far as their dunking ability. So no, I'm off the top. I mean, look,
D-Wade,
old names. No, D-Wade's not a good game dunker. He's powerful because again, we talked about this in another mailbox.
Yeah,
he can't. He just doesn't have the hops for it. He's 6'4" at best.
With knee problems.
With his 6'11" reach, and then I mean the knee problems notwithstanding, like even in his peak, I don't know that he was stylish enough as a dunker. He wasn't going to create in midair. He didn't have those kind of hops.
There was nobody from like the post Big Three era. I mean, I guess Gerald.
There was a guy that they used to call the pogo man, the pogo stick man, Mark Strickland. You probably don't remember him at all.
I remember.
He had like a cup of coffee. He had a cup of coffee with the Heat. He was a athletic, bouncy guy. I'm sure there have been a couple others that we're forgetting here. Guys that were like, oh, Jamario Moon, right?
Oh,
he was a slam dunk competitor at one point. Did he win it? I think.
Did he?
I think he might
Look
have.
it up
I
really
don't know.
quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's an option. But where I was going with my previous statement is like those are all great in-game dunkers. Those are all great, even style dunkers for the most part. We've never seen James in a slam dunk competition, but I have a feeling he'd probably be pretty good at it. He's creative and athletic enough where he'd probably be pretty good at it. But I
Who?
just can't. LeBron James, that
Oh,
guy.
LeBron. Yeah.
I think he'd be pretty good.
No, I mean, look,
I,
we get to put the contest together. We get 4 names here. I'm putting LeBron. If it's up to me, I'm putting LeBron in the contest. We never got to see it. I would love to see it. I'm putting LeBron in the contest. So he's in. I'm throwing
so who
Gerald Green
wins
in
it?
there.
Who wins it? I mean, that's the question, right? Who
LeBron will
wins
win
it?
it.
Who
LeBron would win it.
LeBron wins the
Yeah, he
slam
would win it.
dunk contest?
100%. Miami Heat
No,
LeBron? Yes. Because
no, I'm
first
going
of
Derrick
all,
Jones
he would
Jr.
have all the clutch sports money at his disposal. He
Oh
would
God.
pull out, he would dunk over like a spaceship, like a Kia spaceship or something. Like I don't even know what LeBron would do, but
Do
he would
they
have
have
all of
those?
the
I don't know.
all he would make one and then he would dunk over it is what would happen. I don't know what he would do. He would get all of his celebrity friends out there. Like he would if like I'm not a judge, I'm just saying the way that these things are judged, he is by far it's him or Gerald Green. He's easily the biggest star of that group. They would just give him the win. He would obviously win it. I don't know if he would deserve it, but he would win it.
I don't know. Warren
He would
Buffett,
win it.
in a tossing the
It-
lob to LeBron James.
I
I
like
can
it.
see it. No, I gotta go
Skills
Derrick Jones
challenge.
Jr.
You
I
are.
gotta go
Oh,
Derrick Jones Jr.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
he's a winner.
to me, I think he is. I think he is a winner. I think he was clearly better than Aaron Gordon. I think he's still even
Yes.
better than LeBron James. I mean, maybe not in terms of like the peripheral noise and show that goes into a slam dunk contest. He's too soft spoken for all that. But he just lets his dunk speaks volumes, and to me, he's a better dunker than LeBron James. But that's just my 2 cents.
I would have liked to see Caleb Martin in it this year. I would have liked it.
Sore
I don't know.
Achilles. Hey, can we just mention the fact that both twin brothers, both dealing with sore Achilles at the same time? Twins, man.
Not
Twins.
a coincidence. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah, this is very, very strange stuff here.
Yeah.
It's
Skills challenge. I've got 3 names for you. That's all I could come up with. Because I mean, there's plenty of players that are very, very skillful that play for the Heat, but nobody was at this level. To me, there's an upper crust, a top tier of Heat players as far as just ball skills are concerned. It's Dwayne Wade, obviously. That's a no-brainer.
Yep.
It's Jason Williams.
Oh, ooh, didn't even think about that.
And here's a third one. Tyler Herro. Udonis Haslem told me that Tyler Herro is the most skilled player he's ever seen. So take that for whatever it's worth. Even if it's a little bit of hyperbole, it's still great praise. Dwayne Wade, Tyler Herro, Jason Williams. Am I missing anybody there?
Yes, I think Tim Hardaway would certainly have been a
you're
very
right.
good name.
Yep, absolutely right. Yep.
And
yeah.
I could have made a strong argument. I was thinking about this too for Jamal Mashburn. Like he was like LeBron-esque before LeBron in the sense that he's like 6'7", 6'8". Good handle, good speed.
Didn't Bosch perform really well in the skills contest?
Well, Bam won it.
Oh, Bam. I'm sorry, Bam. Yeah, I was like, some Heat center
Bam
did
won
it. Yeah. All right, so Bam's got to be at least an honorable mention here since he won the damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, he was going up against Sabonis, if I'm not mistaken, in Chicago. That was
Centers
fun ride
for some reason are winning these things, but you have to shoot a 3. Well, you have to pass. You have to dribble through cones or something. You have to pass the ball through a circle, and then you have to make a 3, and you got to do it fast. Who would you take for the winner here? I think we ended up with the 5 names that I think we needed.
It's hard to argue against Dwayne because he might be the fastest end to end. The best shooter amongst those 3, I would have to probably go Jason Williams.
Yeah,
maybe.
definitely.
Tim. But I probably kind of lean Tim Bug just in the sense that he's probably going to be so angry about the whole thing that he's probably just going to want to win it. This is finally the recognition that he'll deserve.
Better handle, Dwayne Wade or Tim Hardaway?
Oh, Tim Hardaway.
I'm with you. I think. Oh, really? I think it's close. I think it's at least close, but I think it's. But I didn't have to think hard about it. It's definitely Tim Hardaway, but Dwayne Wade's probably second on this list. Well,
yeah.
It might be
Jay Williams has a good
he was a flashy passer, and he was fast. I'm gonna go Jay Will here. I think he wins it. The thing is that the thing that's gonna trip up Dwayne Wade is a 3-pointer that he's got to make here.
Right.
That's gonna trip him up, and I think Jason Williams basically made a career of running past the half court line and jacking up 3s when nobody was looking. And that's kind of what the skills challenge is. So I'm gonna go Jay Will wins this thing.
I wonder if he thrives more like if there was, if there was other players around, like if it was in the middle of a tough defense or something like that, then he'd be
that he could
much more
fake a
willing to
pass
jack it
to
up.
and then just three.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When
But
nobody
he can
out there,
still
it's like
pump
I
fake.
feels
He
a little
doesn't.
exposed.
He can pump fake to nobody, I guess. Pump fake to the first
Yeah.
row. All right, 3-point contest. This one's pretty
Uh-oh.
easy, but I figure we might as well just get through it. The names I came up with: Duncan Robinson, obviously, Wayne Ellington, Jason Capono, because of course, and Ray Allen, obviously. Did I miss anybody?
Yes. James Jones, who actually won it.
Okay. Yep, you're right. James Jones. See, this is what happens when I make these lists fast. James Jones is obviously part of this. He actually might beat Ray Allen in this.
Taquan Cook won it with the Heat. I don't know if he would qualify him as like an elite 3-point shooter. He had a fantastic, shooting stroke, and he won the competition. But yeah, Glenn Rice to me was like the best shooter I've ever seen. Like I had never really watched much of basketball, but I remember seeing a game with Glenn Rice shooting around before the game, and I think I mentioned it on this show before. But he must have gone like some ungodly number as he was working the perimeter and pregame shoot around. And I've never seen anybody so effortlessly shoot the ball, just shooting. Like might have gone like 38 of 40 from around the rim.
Wow.
Just around. It was amazing.
Dark,
and yeah, it's hard to think whether or not he'd be able to. He did participate, I think, when he was with the Hornets. No, he did it with the Heat. When he was with the Heat, he participated in a 3-point shootout. He did not win it. Oh wait, he did win it. What am I talking about? He did win it. Glenn Rice, James Jones, Daquan Cook, Jason Capono, they've all won it for the Miami Heat. And yet, Ray Allen is probably the best shooter of all time. Mike Miller's up there.
Mike Miller. Wow, we've had a lot of good 3-point shooters come through here.
Yes, we have.
I knew I forgot. I knew I was forgetting names.
Duncan almost feels like an afterthought in this conversation.
But he participated
so many
in
good
the
ones.
3-point.
He did. So did Capono won it too, right?
Capono won it. Capono won it. Capono was my first great 3-point shooter in Heat history. And shout out to Capono for showing up to a Heat game the other night. But
San Antonio, right? Yeah, he was in the
you gotta take Ray Allen though, right? Like it's Ray Allen, and but I wouldn't feel good about it. But if it's like, hey, put $1 on one of these guys, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll do Ray Allen because it's Ray Allen. But I'm not feeling great about it. I think I'm going to be okay with losing that $1. You're going Glenn Rice? I love it. Go with Glenn Rice.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going with James Jones. Forget it. Sorry, Ray Allen. Get out of here. All right, our last couple of questions are next. David, tell listeners about Rock Auto.
Oh, well, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible for your local chain store to carry all the parts that you need. Why endure often pointless or intimidating questioning? They're just trying to find the parts that you're looking for. Maybe you don't know. You start to feel uncomfortable. It's just an awkward situation. Why deal with all that? You've got, a person behind a counter looking things up on their computer. You've got a computer at home or in your pocket, which means you have access to rockauto.com, a family-owned business that's been serving auto parts customers online for over 20 years. That's right, over 2 decades of service. And their website is so easy to use. You'll find everything that you're looking for with just a few easy clicks. You'll save money, you'll save time, and it'll be a much easier and convenient solution for you. And who doesn't like to save money at this point in time? I don't think there's any point in time where you wouldn't want to save money and find a way to be more convenient about,
especially in this economy.
Yeah, absolutely. So go to rockauto.com right now, and then you go to the section that says, how did you hear about us? And write the phrase locked on so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That is rockauto.com.
All right, our last couple of burning questions here. This is Locked On Heat. You're listening to 5 burning questions, and we've got a listener one to get to here from our friend Sean Rochester, who writes in, Haywood Highsmith had an impressive debut as he returned to Miami. His wingspan is a large part of his defensive talent and outside shooting ability. Approximately how many Tyler Herro arms would it take to equal one Haywood Highsmith arm?
He's on fire!
I mean, Philly Heat NBA. He sends you these questions half jokingly, not half, completely jokingly.
I would hope.
How many Tyler Herro arms? Yeah, 1.2. How about that? I think it's
like that.
fair.
I was
alligator
go slightly
arms
higher at 1.3, but I think we're in the right.
Yeah. I think that's just right. What he's got the negative arm length, right? He's listed at 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", and he's got like a 6'4.5" wingspan. So him, JJ Redick, it doesn't keep you from having a very long career. And in Tyler's case, I think his anticipation and his hops are just good enough where he's become such an excellent rebounder. Like I mean, I think he's a really, really good rebounder. And we've been saying this pretty consistently over the last few seasons of his career. He just has a knack for finding where the ball is going to carry him off to. He swoops in there. We've seen him pull boards away from Jimmy, from Kyle, from Bam, from Dwayne Dedman. I just he has a real nose for the ball. He grabs it and he initiates that fast break opportunity. So you know what? As many arms as it takes, Tyler Herro has them.
Let's get to this next question. No, this is our final one. He's on fire. So this one's from me, David, and this is our last burning question here. I just finished part 1 of the final season of Ozark, and I know you don't watch it and you don't need to. So no spoilers here, but the show basically is about the main character played by Jason Bateman from Arrested Development fame, one of my favorite shows, Mount Rushmore comedy for me, Arrested Development. If you haven't seen it, go see it. To you and anybody listening. Marty Byrde played. Oh, okay, great. So basically, Jason Bateman plays the same character, but in a thriller instead of a comedy, right? A drama, I should call it. So, and his name is Marty Byrde in Ozark, and he's part of a family that is laundering money for a drug cartel. Again, that's not a spoiler. That's like that's the whole premise of the show. It's right out the gate.
First 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like saying Breaking Bad is about a teacher that makes math. It's like, no, why did you say it?
Gave it away.
Yeah, exactly.
So, or that Arrested Development is about a family. My question to you is, if you had to pick anybody on the Heat, okay, to launder money for you, the way that Marty Byrde launders money for a South American drug cartel, if you could pick anybody on the Heat, player, coach, whatever, you could pick anybody on the Heat to launder money for you and your family, knowing that it is extremely illegal, because of course it is, that you could spend a long time in prison, or if the cartel found out that maybe you were telling the FBI something or whatever, that they could kill you, right? Because now you're in the business of the cartel. High stakes is basically what I'm saying here, David. Who would you pick to help you launder money on the Miami Heat?
You know, at first I thought I didn't give it much thought, and I was like, oh, questions like these, you almost always wind up falling on Udonis Haslem as the right choice, just because he's been through so much. Like, he's so tough. Like, who's going to mess with UD? He could get away with so much in Miami-Dade. He could be laundering money right now through a million Subways and Starbuckses and whatever.
That's a good point. He's already got the fronts ready to go.
So it felt like that was a no-brainer. It's like, oh, okay, well, he's got an extra $1 million. It's UD. What am I going to say about it? No one's going to challenge him. You know, you think some corrupt Miami-Dade, housing official is going to be like, there's a little bit more income coming through here over the last.
Well, the Heat can leave him on the roster until he's 50. Nobody will ever say anything.
Right. That's a form of money laundering in and of itself.
You've been laundering money for 6 years.
But the other answer that I came up with, the one I think I'm going to fall on, is Duncan Robinson. Not only is he smart, he is unassuming. No one really takes him all that seriously. I think he's also paranoid enough. And, we've all talked about the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, people have called him the Jason Bateman of the Heat's roster.
I could see that. He is funny. He's funny. Like, he's a little. Yeah. I mean, he could come across as being like, he's so nervous that he could give it away sometimes. But I think he's been in clutch situations before, and like, he's talked about the fact that he's like, even at 6'7", 6'8", and being like, as much making as much money as he has over the last few years. Like, he could walk into your typical restaurant, and a lot of people will not recognize him, even at this point in his career. And I think that kind of ability to blend in probably helps. And again, I think there's the money. I think he comes from let's say, slightly more affluent background too. So I think people would kind of not dig into it too clearly. Maybe I've given it way too much thought, but I think I'm settling on Duncan Robinson.
First of all, no such thing as giving this question way too much thought. Duncan Robinson is not a name that I had thought of, but you're talking me into it a little bit here, because I didn't have an answer going into this. I made up the question. I didn't have an answer for it, and I wanted to talk it through with you. Duncan Robinson, that's a really good argument. I think I'm going with Eric Spoelstra here. I think I'm going with Spo here. First of all, still a little unassuming. Spo's been a coach longer than anybody in the league of his team, other than Greg Popovich. And I still think if he walked into a restaurant in most places, people would be like, I don't know who this guy is. Nice Miami Heat polo, man. Like, but is that dry fit? Yeah. Okay, cool. He's extremely intelligent. I've always said this about Spoelstra. He's smarter than your average basketball coach. And I think you need that, the wit, the smarts, the intelligence, combined with like that unassuming thing. And also handling pressure in big moments. Like you said with Duncan Robinson, Spoelstra does that. He's made a career of that. He's maybe the best in the league at that. GMs voted him best in the league among his peers at doing just that 2 years ago. And not to give up give up too much about the Ozark plot, but spoiler, this is one. It just doesn't go smoothly the entire time. So
these things rarely do.
So Spo in a pinch, I trust him to make a sound decision because we've seen it before. Not in money laundering, drug cartel situations, but close, right? Like the finals. So I'm going Spo. I'm going Spo here, but I like Duncan Robinson. I do like that pick. I think some people would be like, not Pat Riley? No, not Pat Riley. Not the guy walking around in Armani suits. Okay. Everybody's like, where's that money coming from? Not him. I'm not picking Jimmy Butler. He's got way too much going on.
No.
I think he'll lose interest.
Yeah, no.
I'm not picking Kyle Lowry because he spent way too much time in Canada.
And Jimmy would do so much research on it. All of a sudden, like his internet search engine would be like laundering money. How do you launder money? Yeah, best places to launder money, and then he'll like talk about it on a podcast. He'll be like, lately I've been really into coffee and wine. He's going to be laundering money. It's like
he's going to be promoting Michelob Ultra and be like, it's great for Michelob. It's great when I'm laundering money.
After a nice day of laundering money, I need a cool Michelob Ultra. It's like, way to go, dude! You kind of just ruined everything. Yeah.
I like Duncan Robinson. I like Spo. We could team them up. We'll have a nice little money laundering team. All right. Well, those are our 5 burning questions that we had today. Thank you to everybody who sent in questions. Please continue to send us in questions. And for the next time we do this, we'll definitely include the listener questions as we have today. But that'll do it for today's Locked On Heat. Remember to subscribe to new episodes of Locked On Heat on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Comment and leave a 5-star rating. Reach us on Twitter at Locked On Heat. Thank you for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. It's free. It's available on all platforms. Thanks for joining me, David.
You got it, Wes.